Alright everybody, this is sort of the walking tour of my fish tank setup, aquarium setup, whatever you want to call it. I actually have two tanks. This is a 90-gallon, which I just installed here last week. Sort of Amazon-centric type, not a true biotope. The plants are not all Amazonian, but the fish all are. Got some angelfish in there, some keyhole cichlids, cories, cardinal tetras, the usual lot. These were actually carryovers from a 45-gallon here, which I basically upgraded. Everything that I have is on a sump. You can see on the back here the intake on the left is running a full siphon, and that runs down through a throttling valve, and then the other one is just simply an overflow. And I could have done a bean animal overflow or something like that. But I was a little bit space limited on the back. This tank's deeper than the previous one, so I didn't want to bring it out too far away from the wall. And I really wanted to get the surface skimming capabilities on here. And for all the work that I've done here, I didn't want to put a coast-to-coast overflow. So it is what it is, and you can judge away. The stand has got a little bit of an interesting story. I was actually trying to do some cleanup on my 45, and it had scratches in the front, and the scratches were not coming out, and I was having a full-blown meltdown about it because I had everything torn down, and the fish were in a spare tank, and I was very fortunate that my wife told me to go ahead and get what I wanted and to replace it. So I came home with the 90 and got it set up. I also came home with a $300 aquarium stand. That once I had it set up, I told myself, I didn't like it so much in the shop, and I really didn't like it when I got home. So same day, put it back in the truck, took it back to the shop, took my $300 refund, went down to Home Depot or Lowe's or basically the home improvement box store, bought $100 worth of lumber, and started putting together this frame. The wood, the plywood is a furniture grade ply, 3/4 inch. It's set on 2x4 dimension lumber. It's actually supported on the wall, partially on the wall as well too. So this will sand up really nice. I'll patch all the holes. I'll wind up painting this a black and getting a nice finish. Put some doors and a shelf on there. But what's kind of cool is underneath you can see basically the throttling valves on the left. I've got a large valve and a small valve for fine tuning it, and then just the gravity drain. And they tie together in a header. So now you're asking yourselves, okay, where's the sump? Because this is obviously a sump setup. Well, let me get there, because obviously the plot, sickens. There's my son eating his dinner very diligently. Hey, Robin, can you say hi, YouTubes?
Hi, YouTube.
Yeah, that's great. We're gonna see you. You're gonna see you online here in a minute. Okay, over in this room, I'll turn on the light. We have a 35-gallon. It's a cube tank. Same sort of setup. Here you see some angelfish, some cardinal tetras, a few other species in here. We've got some cherry barbs, which are really nice. A couple of they're not mollies, platies. Some black neon tetras. There's a red-tailed shark floating around in here. A couple really nice plecostomus that we're really happy with. But again, it's you can tell it's on a sump. We got a suction drain and an overflow drain and the water return. So where's the sump? Well, the sump piping runs down through the floor, underneath the floor and the joists, just like this tank coming back from here runs down through the floor joists all the way under the floor, and it eventually makes its way back into my closet. I'll turn on my flashlight to help us out just a little bit into this sump arrangement, and I'm kind of proud with how this turned out. I mean, the sump is just a sump. It's I've got a small scale aquarium which serves as a sump. You can see all the electric wires. It's hard to see on the screen, but you've got all the electric wires for the heaters. You got a little platform inside there with, it's just homemade, just plastic boxes on there. The holes for the plastic boxes, you've got the mechanical filter on top and the bio on the bottom. And the hole for the mechanical is on the far side. So then the water has to pass back through the biological and to the holes on the near side. And so it does a little zigzag pattern through there, which is kind of cool. Coming up here, this pipe, the one that's closest to my feet, or closest to the bottom of your screen, I guess, is the return. So both the 35 and the 90 come back through there. The middle, right here, the middle tube runs down. That's the overflow, so that's going to a drain. And then the last one right here is the pump intake. So the normal pump water goes down to the pump, and then if there's an overflow event, that flows up to the top and flows over the side. This small clear tube here is running to just basically a float valve for continuous top up. That's comping off of well water. And during my water changes, I do cut it with some RO just to keep the GH and the KH right around 7 or 8, from the Amazon, and help the carbon dioxide do its job for the plants. So now, what's really cool about this is if I shut up for a second, this overflow, this is completely silent because this U-tube is submerged underneath the filter right here. If I go really quiet, you would never know that this is here. So I'm very proud of that. The tanks are actually noisier than this sump filter. So that asks, you beg the question, okay, so where's the pumps, or pump as it were, because I only have one, and where's the CO2? So let's head on downstairs to the utility room, which is located right below the sump. So we'll come on in here, okay, and I'll bring my flashlight in. And this is kind of an interesting arrangement down here. Not a tremendous amount of light. It's not fun to work in this room. And clearly it's a little bit of a mess. I got the CO2 junk all over the place, blah 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 blah. But I like to think that I've done some clever things, so I'm happy to share. Where you see the coupling up here, this is the feed coming in from the sump, and then we've got a main shut-off valve, and then we come into this cross. Heading to the left is just a bypass, and so obviously you can see that valve is closed. So the water flow heads on down. This clear tube is where the CO2 injection occurs. Basically what I did was I pulled apart a standard CO2 diffuser and then epoxied it into a 90-degree PVC fitting oriented sideways. And let's see if I can, gotta turn this the other way. Okay, and you can see all the CO2 getting into the water column. And then it heads down to the water column. Going down is a drain, so obviously that's closed. It turns left, and it goes through a Bell & Gossett NRF 25 circulator pump. It's a 3-speed. I'm not running full bore. I'm actually on the 2nd speed for it right now. This pump is so quiet that if I shut up, you could not tell that it's running. I mean, every once in a while it'll give a little crackle as some of the CO2 bubbles go through it, which I know is not ideal, so, but go ahead and judge away. Because a regular aquarium pump of this capacity and this performance would cost approximately 3 times as much. Now, it's important to note with this, in the published literature, it says, do not run this at a pH less than 7. Okay, I get it. It's also cast iron with steel parts and so on and so forth. Probably wouldn't be the best choice for your saltwater folks. And by and large is not the application that it was ideally designed for. However, it works great for me, and it is by far the best pump that I found in this application, and I can assure you I've been through a few. And then it kind of comes out this side, and water comes up. That's a check valve. Yeah, it looks a little bit wonky, kind of fabrication dumbness, but it is what it is. Judge away. And then up here, it splits off into the header, and you can see one partially closed valve on the left and one fully open valve on the right. The partially closed valve goes to the 35-gallon tank, and the valve on the right goes to the 90-gallon tank. So that's just throttled back to get the desired water flow that I want in those tanks. So that's how that works. Now, a little bit of more cleverness down here. Hey, 25-gallon CO2. It's kind of cool. I was happy to get up to this point because I was injecting enough CO2 that a DIY rig wasn't doing anymore. You can actually see the remains of my DIY rig on the right. What I've used here is a Fluval 88, which we got for the 35-gallon before it was all tied in on the sump. With some basically paintball tank adapters, and we got that running. It worked out okay for a minute. But when I upgraded to this 20-gallon or 20-pound tank, I wasn't about to go and buy the regulator rig when I had one that was fully functional. So I've got two things going on here which are kind of clever. A, I've got this adapted to a paintball tank adapter to the Fluval 88 cylinder adapter, and then it goes through the regulator, and then it heads on up here to this PVC tank, which is that's empty. It's just an accumulator, and it's holding pressure. And this is recycled from my DIY rig. You can actually see my DIY bottles down before, which it actually worked like a champ. And and then we come on up here and we can see that the accumulator right now is sitting at about 40 psi. And then, yes, straight up, I'm running it through a propane regulator. So basically, I've got a $10 propane regulator, and you know, the parts and kits that came with you know, an $80 Fluval 88 rig. So for less than $100, I do have a dual regulator system that protects my tank against a end of tank dump. Now out here, this is a solenoid valve that I picked up off of eBay. That's like a stainless steel solenoid valve, 1/4 inch. I think that particular solenoid valve cost me 20 bucks, and that's actually going to be coming out of the system. It used to be on a timer. Right now it's always on, just sitting there wasting energy. So that's going to get pulled on out. I'm going to replace it with a downstream pressure gauge just to have a better idea of what's going on, and then just clean this whole mess up a heck of a lot better than it is right now, because, you know, clearly you can tell it's pretty janky. But anyway, that is the story of the aquarium. We'll head on back upstairs. Come on, bud. We'll head on back upstairs, and you'll get a chance to see some more of the tank, the 90-gallon up close. You know, and there it is. The background, I painted it brown. I was I think it's called like mocha fudge or something like that, an Olympic paint. Just painted up the back of it. You know, do like a standard latex paint. The only bummer about that, you can see that little black chip right there. You know, it doesn't adhere to the glass all that well, which is fine for handling if you're careful. But you know, if you're not as careful as you need to be, like I did right there, you get that little scrape. So, you know, I'm just going to touch that up. I'm actually going to take the paint card and just tape it behind there, and it'll be invisible. So, but I think you know what fish we've got. Point to the angelfish for me.
Oh, but I like
Where's the angelfish?
I love the black one, that one.
You like the black angelfish?
What are those 3 angelfish?
Well, those are actually Corey's, bud.
Corydus?
Those are Corydoras.
Corydoras?
Yep, that's right. Hey, where are the keyhole cichlids? Do you see them in there?
They're hiding somewhere.
Yep, they probably are.
Maybe up here.
Entirely possible.
Entirely possible.
So anyway, that's the story right there. And, you know, I guess if you have any questions, feel free to post them. And, you know, I'm happy to do the videos. Otherwise, you know, have a great day. Peace out.